recently, you're a film director, I believe a producer too.
Yes.
You are in the film industry, and recently the Film Classification Board just banned a documentary and restricted it from being aired in any media house, so just news outlets or media outlets. So
Yes.
then, what does that mean? Because they say it goes against the constitution. What does that mean? Like in terms of production of films and documentaries here in the country, do we follow the law? Do we go against the law?
Okay, so basing on that specific production, but first of all, basing on Kenya, Kenya does not is not yet how can I say we're not open-minded to certain things, which by law, by the Kenyan jurisdiction, is understandable. But when it comes to a creative, now other creatives need to speak out of something which is actually happening within the society. As much as we might ignore it and might think that it's not there, but it's actually there. So us as filmmakers just want to reflect, rather show the society this is what is happening and this is how it is. We should accept every person the way they are, whichever way. So when it comes to now filmmaking, of course, it limits certain things for us to embrace, or rather to speak about, because at the end of the day, you know that the law will come for you because of speaking out of something which is against the law. So usually, I would say, as a creative, I wish our laws would change to a certain extent and accommodate certain things that are already within the society. And then, but at the end of the day, all I can say is the law is supreme. So I don't like it personally as a creative. I wish it changes, but you know, there are certain things which it depends. It begins from the executive, especially when it comes to the Marriage Act. For ours, the penal code for Kenyan creatives, it's different. So, but when it comes to the law of now the Marriage Act, section 163, 65, and 165, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Right. So what does that then say about the creative industry? Because now if you get to understand that the law does not allow me to produce this kind of content, because the audience maybe, according to the law, there's no audience for that here in the country, then yet you go ahead and produce that kind of content. Is it not a loss on the creative side? Because you're producing something that you will not get to air.
Yeah. It's a huge loss to us. But still, if you limit yourself basing on the jurisdictions of just Kenya, then obviously it's a huge loss to you. But if you want to diversify and check it outside Kenya, different countries within Africa and different parts of the world, it will be accepted one way or another. So the problem would be now putting it for Kenyan audience who might not or will see it. So the thing is, when it comes to the film industry, once you ban something, that's how you create market for it. So other people are now interested to look for that documentary, and yet now it gets more viewership than what you expected. So one way or another, it's not really a big loss on the entertainment industry. It's kind of just a small mishap, a small mishap, but at the end of the day, it kind of markets you on one way or another, depending on how you want your brand to be noticed.
So to some extent, it's like you will do that, knowing very well it's going to be banned. But when they ban it, that is when now traffic starts coming on your side. People being interested in actually doing that.
Yes, exactly. Because I believe if you hadn't heard about it being burnt, you would not have even spoken about it.
Exactly.
It's the same way as Rafiki was burnt, and then now people spoke about it. But before that, not so many people knew about Rafiki, the movie. So it's kind of beneficial too to a filmmaker in a certain extent, but it's also a disadvantage to the filmmaker to a certain extent. So you're playing both ways. It might be advantageous to you as a filmmaker, or be a huge disadvantage to you. So it depends on how you put yourself out there.
Okay, let's talk about the audience. Do you think you are a filmmaker? You and being a creative, it's you want to express something. Probably it's somehow an expression. Do you think that kind of content has an audience? When you're creating that kind of content, do you believe that it has an audience here in the country, considering the fact that it is illegal?
Yeah, I believe it has a huge audience, an extremely huge audience. It's just that, how can I say, the people who make these laws or who implement them and stuff like that are usually the old generation, which I have no problem with. I understand how they were brought up, and it's okay. You have to understand them on that level. But at the end of the day, you cannot put a blind eye on something which is already happening within the society, rather the community. So these things have a huge audience. Just that, we are the ones who restrict such viewership here. But at the end of the day, yes, there's an audience for it, because that community does exist in Kenya, and there are people who are not for it and others who are against it. And for real, it's understandable. Every person has his or her belief. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is we are all human beings. We all bleed and we all breathe the same air. So one thing, as you criticize this other individual, get to understand that this is also an individual. So the way you treat him, it's under human rights. So you have to treat him based on the human rights, and human rights does not say you should not discriminate. So at the end of the day, you should just understand how to handle this kind of situation.
Okay, as we wind up, let's look at the law and just the act of filmmaking. If you say the law is punitive, you might not like it, but the law is supreme. Then where do we then come, probably, to a consensus, or rather just meet in the middle, whereby, because the argument here is that the kind of film that is being produced does not go hand in hand with the culture of the Kenyan people, the country, the cultural values of this particular country. And if you say we're trying to depict what is in society, then who is right when it comes to you, the filmmaker, trying to say, and I want to send a message when it comes to this particular idea, or rather this thing that I feel is happening in the country or this society. But then there's the other argument that I belong to this society and I do not condone whatever you want to promote. Is it promoting, or from a filmmaker's perspective, would you say you are promoting or you are enlightening, or rather, what would it be?
I would use the what is it called? The approach of the media to inform, educate, and what? And entertain. So the film industry lies on there are certain things when it comes to documentary, it's usually inform and educate. So for a documentary aspect, you're informing people. And as a filmmaker, we usually inform people, create awareness about something, and entertain you at the end of the day. But it's not necessarily that we are promoting it. We're just stating this is what happens.
Okay. Okay, let's look at the law. Then where does the law give the filmmaker a safe space to just produce filmmakers?
To be themselves, no. That I cannot lie about it. Not everything. It gives us space it's how can I say? I'm trying to look for an example. It's like you being given when you give a child an ice cream. Unampatia unataka you tease the person. You're about to give him, and then you pull it back, or you unampatia tu a lick kidogo, and then you pull it back. So that's what how can I say? The government does, or rather our laws are. Yeah? Inakupatia a small lick of something and then pulls it back and brings you back the law. You're not supposed to do this. So yeah, it's teasing. It's kinda we are on the verge of evolving, I would say. Kenya is not that strict in terms of laws. We're not too strict, but we're still not too open. I believe Kenya has the potential of opening up to such situations. It's just that we as the community, how most of us in Africa, or rather in Kenya, have been brought up is different than other countries. You cannot compare a Kenyan with a South African.
All
We are
right.
brought up in a different element. For Kenyans, we kind of brought up with, I would say, mostly Christian values and Muslim laws and stuff like that. So you should understand we on those elements, and that's what kind of depicts us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for having this discussion with us.
Okay, cool then. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.